You may have had this assumption about shadow color. It's cool or blue. Heck, you may have even seen other artists talk about how they put a multiply layer of blue over their digital drawing. But the fact of the matter is, shadows are not just blue. There is more to color. They're a reflection of the environment, and I'll explain. Light 3 time! The reason we see color is because of light. You probably learned this in school already, but when light bounces off an object, only certain colors bounce off and into the eye. The reason something looks red is because all these little light waves hit an object, and everything but red is absorbed, leaving red alone to hit the eyes. Boom. Color. White is when all the colors are reflected. Black is when all the colors are absorbed. Fun fact, this is why when you go to deeper parts of the ocean, you can't see certain colors, because colors also have wavelengths that die off quicker than others. So, to discuss color, you have to discuss light. If you get the values wrong, the colors won't fix it. The shadow side has to stay separate from the light side. They are two separate families, and they don't like each other at all. I'll have the value ball right next to the color ball and update each of them as I talk about it. There are a couple of different types of light that I'm going to be talking about in this video. Direct light, ambient light, and bounce light. Direct light is really simple. You have a light ray coming from a direction and hitting an object. It causes a form shadow and a cast shadow. Very simple light and dark shapes. Now, since color comes from light, we'll see that in the light side. Let's make it a bit yellow for just like a normal bulb or something, and let's say the table is brown. We see these colors because they're getting hit by the light. So, how do we get color in the shadow? I mean, shadow is literally the absence of light, right? This is a falsehood, a fib, a big old little lie. We actually do get light, just very, very weak light. This is called ambient light. Ambient light, quite simply, is light that is too weak to exist in the direct light. Therefore, it only survives in the shadow. There are two types of ambient light: diffuse light and bounce light. Diffuse light is a wide area of weak light rays that bounce all over the place and cause soft gradation. If you are outside and the blue sky is out, this is where you see that blue shadow thing come into play. But if it is cloudy out, guess what you're not going to have? The blue sky. So it's going to be grayer, kind of diffuse light source. Now, it does not make the entire shadow blue. It only hits the planes facing upward, which in this case will be the top of the ball and the ground. This area, the one not hit by diffused light, will have to be hit by bounce light if there is direct light to be bouncing around an area. Bounce light, if coming off the ground, will hit only the underside of an object. Some people might think that all this light bouncing everywhere will hit everything, but no. The part of the shadow that isn't lightened by the bounce light or the ambient light will, in comparison, be darker. This is called the core shadow. But if there's a wall or something next to it that does allow bounce light into that area, boom, no core shadow. That's really all the core shadow is. Light actually dies off very quickly. After 1 or 2 bounces, it's already too weak to survive in the light side again, so the shadow family takes it in. And along with it, it brings in a bit of the color of the object it bounced off of. In this instance, it bounces off the brown table. Yellow light rays, influenced by the brown, so it's going to lean towards that area, are now dimmed, because again, they lose energy in the bounce, and carry that color into the area it hits. But even bounce light can't cover everything. There are parts of an object that might be so far turned away from the light that it can't be hit by anything. This is called ambient occlusion, and it tends to sit right where objects make contact or almost make contact, like with the table and the ball. So right around here. So now that you know how shadow colors work, you might notice other artists use very saturated and colorful shadows, or you notice that when light bounces off neon pink pants into the shadow is very pink, while light that bounces off of maybe a lower gray, blue kind of pants, it's not nearly as obvious as the neon. This is color influence, and to explain it, I'm going to bring in color cups. If you have something that's desaturated, we're going to use water to symbolize this, and you add another colored water, this color is going to completely drag this color over into its zone. It's going to have the most influence. This is why Marco Bucci will start you out coloring desaturated spheres so that you can see color theory better. Now, if you have the same thing but a saturated color cup instead and try to add desaturated color liquid, it's not going to have as severe an effect. In fact, it'll be barely noticeable, if at all. But that desaturated color is still mixing with it, so there will be a lean towards that color, just not like in the first example. This is also the same thing where even if we take two desaturated cups, they're going to lean towards each other, but they're not going to be suddenly gain saturation. But to keep it simple, I want you to just get a gray or even white object. Ideally something with a small amount of planes, like a ball or a cube. If you want, you can make an origami cube and work with that. Then you're going to need a dark cloth and differently colored sheet paper. I want you to put the dark cloth down first, then the object on top. You'll notice in the shadow side there may be basically no bounce light or core shadow, but when you take it off, there it is. This is because the darker cloth absorbs more light. In part to the fact it's darker, but also because of its texture. Rougher texture objects tend to eat the light rather than bounce it. Now, look at the bounce in the ambient light without the cloth. Take a picture, put it in black and white, do a study of it if you want, but now comes the fun part. See how the shadow color changes when you drop the colored paper next to it. Move it around, lay it under the object. Another thing you can do is use a dropper tool to see the difference in the original color and the reflected color. From what we're doing here, it darkens because of shadow, but also loses saturation. We were in the middle range here, but after reflection, we're in the grays. Another neat thing here, if you start eyedropping color from the bottom of an object nearest the paper doing the reflection, and then you go up to the top, you'll notice the light gets ever so slightly darker. Not enough to be noticeable from a distance, but enough for variation. This is because the light rays have to go longer to hit the top of the cup versus the light rays have to go a short distance at the bottom of it. This could be helpful to know if you feel like you're having difficulty with flat colors. Just try wiggling the color picker around just a bit. You'll be surprised. Keep it in the families though. Have fun, discover. Playing around like this and asking questions is the best and funnest way to learn. If you want to learn more about color and light, there's really no one better to redirect you to than Marco Bucci himself. He's an amazing teacher. His exercises are clear and fun, probably even clearer than what I could talk about in this video. But in any case, I hope it helped, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day!